Going abroad has become an exciting and fun benefit for the students of Hanover College. One of the ways students get to travel is by applying for a Richter Grant. These Richter Grants give students the ability to travel and do research and field work. Here with me I have Emeran Irby. During winter break, she went to Paris on a Richter Grant. So you were in Paris doing street photography. Yes. Can you explain to me what street photography is exactly?
Street photography is really similar to photojournalism. It's more of kind of a free style of photography, so you're not really looking to pose certain people, but you're kind of just immersing yourself in the culture and then trying to capture the culture in a photograph.
Okay, so what were some of your goals for your research project?
I went there to study two specific street artists that are street photographers who kind of had a lot of inspiration coming out of Paris, which was Henri Cartier-Bresson and Robert Doisneau. And they both kind of had the majority of their work coming out of Paris. And so my main goal was to see Paris kind of in the same way they did, but take a more modern take of it. So coming away with a body of work that I created myself to reflect kind of the experiences that I had there and what I learned from being in Paris. So,
have you ever been to Paris before now?
Yeah, this was my third time to Paris. So, but this was a really different experience than I'd had before, because the past times I've been was very much like, oh, you're going to go from this tourist spot to this one. So this one was much more, I got to do what I wanted to do, and I spent a lot more time kind of with the people and just like wandering down the streets and stuff like that. So it was a much more kind of free experience.
So I have some of your pictures here, and they're really, really cool. So can you tell us about what we're seeing here?
Okay, this one I took outside of Notre Dame, which is the really famous church there. And this one, as you can see, it's a little boy, and this one was kind of one of those moments where as I was walking past, I saw it happening and had to kind of snap it really quickly. As you can see, he's swinging on a street sign. So yeah, it's kind of that whimsical, like, childhood experience being in a place as historical as Paris. So it's kind of that juxtaposition between how kids experience it and then how adults experience it, I guess.
So here's another one of your photos. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Okay, well, I spent as a traveler, you spend a lot of time on public transportation. And so this one I took on the metro, and it's a reflection of a woman riding the metro. And it was interesting because you're trapped in this really small space with a bunch of other people, but nobody's interacting. Everyone's like talking on their cell phones or listening to music. So in that image, I believe she was listening to like music or something like that. But I just thought it was really interesting to kind of catch that reflection of it and how people acted on public transportation instead of communicating with one another.
Tell me a little bit about this one.
This one was taken right outside the Musée d'Orsay, which is the Impressionist art museum, and that's the Seine, which is the really famous water that goes through Paris. And this is of a man that was, I believe he was painting the bridges that go over the Seine. And I just thought it was really interesting because the time that I was there, it was not height tourism season, so there wasn't many, it wasn't flooded with like tourists, and there also weren't many street vendors out. Because normally the whole, like, right along the Seine is just crowded, filled with street vendors. And this was one of the only people that I saw the whole day, and he was just painting. And I just thought it was so interesting because that was happening right outside of the Musée d'Orsay, which is this really famous Impressionist art museum. So
yeah, that's awesome. I've never even really seen anybody here in America just sit around and paint.
Yeah, or if you see them doing that, then it's like they're doing it to sell them, or they're doing the like caricature photograph or paintings that you get at like street fairs, I don't know, things like that. So
yeah, just a completely different idea.
Yeah, which is the whole mentality of Paris. Everyone's much slower, they take their time, they kind of really experience what's happening around them. So I think that was a pretty good portrayal of daily life.
So what was your favorite place to shoot at?
I shot a lot at art museums, so the Centre Pompidou, which is the Contemporary Art Museum, the Louvre, the Musée d'Orsay, and I really liked those because it was interesting to see how people were reacting to a lot of the art in there. Kind of something I struggled with while I was in the museums was watching people not actually experience the art, but instead kind of take pictures of it or see it through the screens of their cell phones and things like that. So I spent a lot of time in art museums, and because I really was interested in how people were experiencing them in that way. So those are probably my favorites.
Yeah, I've actually never been to Paris before, but like seeing your pictures makes it sound so much different than what I would think of. I would never think to just like look at the people, but
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see how they reacted to the pictures.
And as a street photographer or as a photojournalist, that's your goal, is to capture the people instead of capturing kind of the monuments or things like that. It's really to get the essence of a culture in one photograph, which is very difficult and something that I had a lot of trouble actually like learning how to do. But it was still really fun and a great experience. So.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see everything when all the rest of your projects also.
Yeah, cool.
If you would like to see Emeran's projects, they'll be on display soon. Back to you, Roxy.